make 190.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua's gigantic.
So big.
He's so big. He's so much bigger. So, of course, like, his punch that he knocks Tyron Woodley out cold with, Joshua just eats it.
Yeah.
Knocked out. As Jake felt his punching power, those doubts AJ seeded in his mind were surely consuming Jake's inner monologue, because what was occurring in the fight validated what AJ had said.
I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is. And I saw Callum Simpson, the fight should have been stopped way before it was.
Joe Rogan goes off on Anthony Joshua after Jake Paul suffered a career-threatening knockout. He explains that Joshua's size and power are overwhelming, calling him absolutely gigantic. Rogan describes how Joshua landed a massive right-hand punch, hitting with full force, which broke Jake Paul's jaw in two. He emphasizes the sheer difference in strength and physicality, noting that facing someone of Joshua's stature is a completely different challenge.
I mean, I give Jake so much credit for stepping into that ring.
Bro, he got hit with a bomb, a right-hand bomb.
When he got hit with that too, I don't know if enough has been made of the fact that, I mean, it was absolutely devastating. But the fact that he had awareness.
Joe Rogan talks about how severely Jake Paul got hurt in his recent fight, highlighting that he lost teeth and took devastating blows. He points out that Jake is now struggling to eat properly due to the injuries, showing just how serious the damage can be. Rogan warns that repeated mismatched fights like this could potentially end Jake's career, stressing the long-term risks of facing opponents far bigger or stronger than him. He criticizes the idea of taking unnecessary risks for entertainment or record padding and urges Jake to rethink future matchups to protect his health and longevity in the sport.
That Anthony Joshua is going to connect with a bomb and breaks his jaw in two places.
Yeah.
And he's fucked. His jaw's wired shut now. He lost teeth.
See, I mean, he made it to the 6th round.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Did they put your teeth back in when they pop out like that, or are they gone forever?
I don't know. But it's just wired shut for like 6 weeks now.
Yeah. You got to eat nothing but protein shakes. Bro.
Oof.
I mean, look, it's a crazy world. The thing is that I would...
Psychologist Derek Van Schick emphasizes the serious risk Jake Paul faced in his matchup against Anthony Joshua, pointing out that the injuries sustained were far from minor. He explains that Joshua's power and precision in the ring created an extremely dangerous environment for Paul, highlighting a particularly devastating right-hand punch that fractured Jake's lower jaw in two places. Van Shank notes that such an injury not only causes immediate pain and functional issues like difficulty eating, but also carries long-term consequences for a fighter's career. He stresses that stepping into the ring with a larger, more experienced opponent exponentially increases the potential for catastrophic damage. According to Van Schick, this fight serves as a clear example of how mismatched bouts, while entertaining for audiences, can push athletes into life-altering situations, underscoring the importance of proper preparation, caution, and respect for the sport's inherent dangers.
Punches he threw, and also aim a little lower to land that clean right-hand punch on the side of Jake's face, which fractured his lower jaw, still hospitalizing Jake Paul, but not actually killing him.
If Anthony Joshua won, Anthony killed this guy. Rolls-Royce, Fiat.
The variety of emotions we see in the final moments of the fight are fascinating. AJ finally corners Jake, hits him with a quick left-hand jab to the body, which lowers his guard, opening up a clean right-hand shot to the head. You can see AJ smile there when he sees Jake had fallen into his trap and knows that he's about to finish him off.
And then you just keep exploiting. Some people give up. Some people get knocked out.
Jake's body language and facial expressions when he knows it's all over for him is a little sad as he whimpers in the corner with that scared, nauseous look on his face, realizing this may be his final moment on Earth.
If I get hit with that shot, I'm screwed. I don't believe he's gonna hit me with those shots.
You gonna hit him with that?
100%. And land that right hand that he says is my only weapon.
If you look at Jake's eyes and face, he's pleading for mercy to AJ, as if he's a child. Please don't do this.
Some people get knocked out.
It's actually quite surreal that the moment many of us were concerned what happened to Jake actually happened in real life.
If Jake Paul is left
up against the ropes with Anthony Joshua, unloading on him. Could be the end for him, literally. It could be his last day on earth.
Jake Paul was helplessly exhausted, badly beaten, and cornered where AJ could have unloaded a flurry of clean punches on Jake. When he takes that clean right shot from AJ, breaking his jaw in 2 places, and then falls to the ground.
And his chin served on a platter, and look at Jake Paul's face. He knew it right away. He said, woo!
Ben Shalom delivers a sharp critique of the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, describing it as a dangerous spectacle that went too far. He argues that unlike some crossover events, which can be treated as entertainment, this fight carried real physical risks that were ignored. Shalom points out that the bout was primarily motivated by money, prioritizing profit over fighter safety. He also criticizes the officials for not stopping the fight when it should have been halted, allowing it to continue to a point where serious injury became almost inevitable. According to Shalom, pushing fighters under these conditions crosses a line, turning what should be a regulated sport into a potentially catastrophic event. The fight serves as a warning about prioritizing spectacle and earnings over health and safety in boxing.
Old view, Ben, on the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua circumstance. I mean, a lot of people talking about the discredit it does to boxing. I don't put it in the category of boxing. I put it in the category of entertainment, and Anthony Joshua being introduced to America as a media star. What's your overall view of what it does or doesn't do for boxing? Jake Paul being licensed in a fight that many people think that he shouldn't have been licensed to fight, in a commission that often does that. As a promoter, do you think it's a bad look for boxing, or are you thinking it doesn't really matter, it's not really what boxing's about?
I usually and have said in the past that things can be things, you've got to take it for what they are, but in this occasion I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is. And I saw Callum Simpson, the fight should have been stopped way before it was, but was in trouble on Saturday night. It's all a bit of fun and it's all a money grab until someone gets seriously hurt, seriously damaged, and then the whole sport comes into disrepute. For me, it makes a mockery of the sport of boxing. For me, no one in the industry wants to talk badly about it because everyone's lined, the pockets are getting lined. And when you look at that, and kids will look at that, and fans will look at that, and sponsors will look at that and think that is boxing, as I say, we're one punch away from something serious. And yeah, it's
Ben, on the flip side of that argument, mate, you will tell me that you knew that Chris Eubank wasn't right to go into that fight.
No, but Simon, let's be completely honest, right? Whatever you want to say about that fight, these are two experienced professional fighters. Chris Eubank Jr. has been in fights previously in his career where he's not been 100% for.
Jake Paul faced a serious challenge when he went up against a much larger and taller Anthony Joshua. During the fight, he repeatedly went down to a knee, putting himself at significant risk. Every time he fell, there was a real danger of ligament damage or long-term injury, similar to what happened to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in his bout with Sergio Martinez. These moments highlighted just how risky it was for Paul to take on someone of Joshua's size and experience, and it underscored the physical toll of facing an opponent of that magnitude.
The bigger, taller person, so keep taking the knee. First of all, your knee, you can get ligament damage. Remember when Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was losing every round to Sergio Martinez, and then Martinez fell to the ground kind of weird? He messed up his knee. He was never the same fighter. So you got a broken jaw, but you could have tore ligaments in your knee by having a 260-pound man, fall on top of you because you keep making it sloppy and falling around and spilling about. And even if you don't like rupture something or tear a ligament or whatever, it's not really much better than someone leaning on you. Do you know how much energy you exert by having to be 220 pounds or whatever, 216, and keep picking yourself back up? Like I seen the thing, I didn't count myself, but it said there were 12 or 13, maybe 14 times that Jake Paul was on the canvas. Horrible strategy. And Netflix, I don't even see how they would like that. And for me, this generation they're chopped, bro. Jake Paul did all this, and y'all want me to give a bunch of credit. Jake Paul did all this talking about Joshua getting knocked out. He did whatever to sell the fight, but you didn't make good. That doesn't make you look good when you talk crazy and talk spicy, and then you have no intentions of fulfilling that. And then you got the Jake Paul fans and the Andrew Tate fans, because they lost kind of back to back, where they're trying their hardest to turn this into some inspirational story. Like, oh, as long as...
Brendan Shaw offered a clear perspective on Jake Paul's matchup against Anthony Joshua, stressing that the notion of Paul winning was never realistic. He highlighted the vast skill gap between the two fighters, noting that Joshua's strength, precision, and strategic experience made it nearly impossible for Paul to compete on equal footing. Shia pointed out that while fans and social media created hype around the fight, the reality in the ring was very different. According to him, the bout was designed more as a spectacle than a genuine contest. With Paul facing challenges far beyond his experience level, the matchup showcased the stark contrast between hype-driven expectations and actual competitive ability, underlining that real boxing skill cannot be replaced by popularity or promotional attention, especially against elite opponents like Joshua.
The way this should be marketed is not, can Jake Paul beat Anthony Joshua? That's insane. That's not real. That's not real in any facet. There was never a chance. There's never a chance. And the Jake Paul fans, and I was getting this a ton from DMs and comments going, well, everyone has a puncher's chance. That's an uneducated opinion. A puncher's chance, yes. If they're in a bar and Anthony Joshua's there at the pub and Jake Paul were to sneak up behind him and hit him in the back of the head or, in the side or something, maybe, even then, he's a little light in the ass, but maybe that's a puncher's chance. In a professional bout where a professional fighter at the level of Anthony Joshua is at, and he is going into a ring knowing and expecting to get hit, there is no puncher's chance when there's that much discrepancy in talent level. There's not, especially when the size difference. And some of you will say, Jake Paul hits hard. To you, yes, to you. But also, Jake Paul hits hard for a 200-pound man. He wouldn't even measure in the top 1,000 professional heavyweight boxers in the world as far as the strength knockout meter, if there is such a thing. It's not possible. So a lot of you were tuning in for saying, well, he has a puncher's chance. That's not real. That doesn't exist here. And now they could do this, but I don't think it's going to get the same amount of views, but it would set expectations. If, when this fight was announced, Jake Paul's team said, hey, we're fighting Anthony Joshua, who thinks we can last?
Boxing analysts were quick to point out that Jake Paul's fight against Anthony Joshua clearly exposed the limits of his abilities in the sport. While Paul has gained significant attention and a large following through crossover boxing, stepping into the ring with a top-tier heavyweight highlighted serious gaps in his skill set. Observers noted weaknesses in his stamina, showing that sustaining performance against a highly experienced opponent is far more demanding than his previous matches suggested. Technical deficiencies also became evident from footwork to defensive awareness, emphasizing that online fame and hype cannot substitute for years of professional training. Analysts stressed that real boxing requires consistency, discipline, and the ability to adapt to elite-level opponents, qualities Paul has yet to fully demonstrate. The fight served as a reality check, revealing that while entertainment and promotion can elevate a fighter's profile, they cannot mask shortcomings when faced with the sport's highest level of competition.
You train or you put on a pair of boxing gloves. That does not mean that you will be perceived as legitimate. It doesn't mean people will be willing to pay to watch you fight. Me personally, I was done with Jake Paul after the pretend fight that he had with Mike Tyson last year. Clearly, I'm not the only one, because viewership for his fight last weekend with Anthony Joshua, it was significantly lower than a real fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford.
Derek Chisora was extremely candid in his assessment of Jake Paul's fight against Anthony Joshua, making it clear that simply stepping into the ring does not automatically earn respect. He emphasized that true bravery in boxing involves more than just presence. It requires preparation, skill, and the ability to face genuine challenges with discipline and strategy. Chisora dismissed the praise and comparisons coming from other figures in the sport, arguing that they overlooked the reality of Paul's mismatch against a far more experienced and powerful opponent. According to him, enduring dangerous conditions or taking hits does not in itself prove credibility or toughness in boxing. Respect must be earned through technical proficiency, smart decision-making, and consistent performance under pressure, not just by surviving a high-risk fight. Cazora's remarks serve as a reminder that the spectacle of a fight is not the same as authentic achievement in the sport.
And someone who you're supposed to it's not supposed to look competitive, he's not supposed to hit you, he's not supposed to go more than 3 rounds, but at the same time, you need to know how to control the pressure. I think AJ's demeanor in the build-up was someone who was like, you know what, everyone's saying these things, but this is how I see it. Yeah, I rate him, he can box a bit. He did say in an interview with Steve Bunce that like, when he was talking certain things, there's a part of me that wants to punch him in his face, but I'm just gonna chill. And I feel like that's how he handled the immense pressure.
The last time we saw AJ fuming like this, like when he actually tried to do something, was with Dylan. So we should not judge him when he says something like this, because when he don't say nothing, we say, oh, why is he not saying anything back? Yeah. And when he says something, we're like, oh, what did you say that for? You know, so the guy is not gonna win with anybody, because if he says something, you like, oh, you guys go against him. If he does not, so he's just madness. So
yeah, and Eddie said that as much as that, because we asked him. Well, I asked him about the comments about when AJ didn't threaten to kill Jake, but he said, if I can kill you, I will. And Eddie said, look, people say he's too media trained and he's too boring, and then when he says something, everyone's up in arms about it. So I understand that.
That's why I think it was balanced. That's why I think the build-up was actually balanced, because he said, if I can kill you, I'll kill you. That shows you I'm not.
And as the week went on, at the way he started to show his frustration.
Yeah, don't touch my face.
The fight against Joshua served as both a spectacle and a cautionary tale. Paul's social media-driven fame and previous victories could not compensate for the reality of facing a true heavyweight. Analysts agreed that experience, preparation, and skill are far more important than hyper-bravado, and that safety must remain a priority. The bout highlighted the limits of crossover boxing and the dangers that arise when a fighter is pushed far beyond their competitive readiness, leaving lasting implications for Paul's career and for the sport as a whole. The analysts argued that the fight prioritized financial gain and media spectacle over genuine competition, putting Paul in harm's way unnecessarily. The mismatch between Paul and Joshua, both in size and experience, demonstrated how financially wise incentives can sometimes outweigh safety and sporting integrity. The resulting injuries to Paul were a stark reminder of the risks involved in these kinds of high-profile mismatches.
Thought about that before getting in the ring with him. And I think a lot of things were revealed inside the ring. You know, all the grabbing of the leg and stuff like that. That shouldn't have been. You know, that almost looked like, it reminded me of Troy. You guys remember Troy when Orlando Bloom's character grabbed his brother's leg, you know? You know what I mean? It looked like he was desperately scared, you know? But I think he should have been desperately scared, because AJ was coming to hurt him. This wasn't a Mike Tyson fight. He wasn't 58 years old. This dude is 36. And Anthony Joshua, like he said, because I've heard AJ say stuff like that. Hey, I'm going to F you up. He said the same thing to Hellenius, because he thought Hellenius was looking at him crazy. And it's like, what do you know, why are you looking at me like that? Right? And Hellenius like, huh? You know, and what happened to Hellenius? He got knocked out, and needless to say, he tested positive for something. But yeah, so if you hear AJ say, hey, I'm going to F you up. Oh yeah. That's what he means. And I think Jake Paul knew it. And I mean, he avoided a lot of big shots at the beginning of that fight, you know. But then as AJ started getting closer and those punches started getting, you know, more in range of hitting him, the grabbing happened a lot, you know, more, you know. He started gripping off for dear life. And, you know, $90 million, you know, would anyone do it though?
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next.